I just got finished doing a thing on Minion CheckDB, and now I've got to remember how this talk goes.
Well, you got about 45 minutes or so. There is a 15-minute buffer. If you want me to, I can give you a little time check as well.
Yeah.
So
the first one was a full hour, and you know me.
Yes,
getting
exactly.
me to shut up, that's hard.
Right. So I mean, so in that case, I will be sure to give you a time check when you are at time, so that you can kind of try and bring it home and wrap things up. While you're getting your screen share up and ready.
Oh yeah, I forgot that.
Yes, because everyone's just looking at me right now. So while you're getting your, because I believe I'm the only one sharing video right now, because you're not sharing video.
And that says start video. Do you want me to share video? Nah,
absolutely up to you.
Nobody wants to see me.
Well, I want to see your sugar gliders. Come on.
I don't have them around my neck today.
Oh, well, then what good are you?
Not very much. Share screen. That's what I'm looking for. Okay.
Sugar gliders are bust for sure.
All right, everyone. While Sean is doing that, one bit of bookkeeping that I do just want to get out of the way is that GroupBy, this particular event, does have a code of conduct. So not going to display it right now while Sean is just getting his screen share set up and whatnot. But essentially, you're agreeing to abide by the code of conduct and just be nice to each other. Really is what it boils down to, right? If there's anything questionable running across your mind, maybe just kind of keep it to yourself for the time being is really what it kind of boils down to. So, but in either case, otherwise, we are at time. So you know what, Sean, I'm just going to hand things over to you if you're ready to rock and roll. And then
ready to roll. I don't know if I'm going to rock, but
oh, you'll be fine.
But
all
yeah,
right,
you guys remember, just follow Bill and Ted, right? Just be excellent to each other.
Exactly.
I think that encompasses everything that everybody wants to say, and it costs less.
Yes.
So if you've never seen me speak before, the way I run a session is you are welcome to chime in and ask any question you want. I don't necessarily agree with making people wait, but if you don't want to turn on your mic and chime in, then you are welcome to type it in the chat, and Andy will interrupt me instead and give me the question, because I like questions at the time. I can go back and answer questions if you want, but there's nothing like doing it while we're on the spot. So there you go. All right. Hey everybody, I'm Sean with MinionWare Software, and I'm supposed to have a slide deck, but I've only got the slide deck for the last conference I was at, and so I don't want to degrade GroupBy by putting somebody else's conference slides up. But I am with MinionWare Software, and we make the world famous Minion maintenance tools that are 100% free, and I guarantee you they're the best tools you will find out there. They've got more options than your mother. I don't know. I haven't come up with a good one for that yet. And if you think of anything, just shout them out. So today we're talking about SQL security, and we're talking about the truth behind SQL security. And I mean it when I say this is the truth about SQL, because there has been far too much, I'll say visigosh around all of this. That's a nice Yiddish word that means BS. And today we're going to not only talk about the security, but we're going to talk about how to prevent it and how to prevent it on a massive scale. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, let's see, I have lost my screen with Andy in it. I guess it's just gone. Oh, well.
No, I just turned off my video, but I'm still here. So
okay.
Everything is fine.
I don't have the little screen anymore either. So I guess it doesn't show me anything at all.
No, it does not. So your
okay.
video, your video is good to go. So we got your screen share just fine. So keep on rolling.
Yeah. Okay. So hey, Andy, if nobody answers my questions, then I'm going to expect you to, okay?
Understood.
Because I do back and forth, and anybody's, like I said, anybody's perfectly willing to, or is perfectly able to turn on their mic and answer my questions when I ask them. Actually,
I don't know if people are allowed to turn on their mic, so they may not be able to, but use the chat or the Q&A instead.
Sure. So, okay. You should allow people to turn on their mics. Okay, so we're going to start off with command shell. Now, I'm going to go ahead and make a thesis statement that the best way to lock down command shell is to turn it off, right? That is the common method for locking down command shell, is to leave it turned off. Would everybody agree with that? Because that's the advice I hear all the time, right? Turn it off. The big audits, the big security audits and whatnot, they test whether or not command shell is turned on, right? So that's got to be the thing, right? Is command shell, right? Turn it off. Does everybody agree with that? I'm going to go ahead and say they do. Oh, now I've got the little thing with chat in there. Oh, perfect. No? Okay. I got some people that are saying no. That's perfect. So I wonder why not, right? Okay. How about this one? It is to create a proxy user and use the proxy instead. How about that one? No from Jen too. Yay, no from Jen. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm going to ask you guys a question. Who has rights to run command shell? And I'm gonna ask this of Andy. Who has rights to run command shell? You're a DBA, right?
I'm a rusty one, to be perfectly honest,
Okay.
and I was never really good with security. So honestly, I have no idea.
Right. So you and everybody else, right? I believe anyone, but it only runs as the user's level of security. I see. Okay. Yes and no. So by default, sysadmins can run command shell, and only sysadmins can run command shell. So let's take a look here. I am logged in here as, okay, so this is my non-user, so I need to log in as somebody else. I used to have one with that account in it. It was an XP test, I think. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and make that a SQL login. Oh, yeah. So server name, host, and I hope I got that right. Yay, I did. So XP test on this box is a standard user. And in fact, I'll even come in here and security, logins. There's XP test right there. And you can see it is not a member of sysadmin. It's just a regular user. So now when I come in here and run command shell, I'll just do that. Actually, I'm going to try to do this. If I don't have my thing already, yeah, I do have my thing. So I've already got, I didn't reset my code. So it won't be able to turn, it won't be able to run command shell when I get rid of the proxy that's there. In fact, let me get rid of that proxy right here. There we go. So now I should be good. There we go. So I can't run it. And it's looking for a proxy, right? It's looking for this proxy account because I'm not a sysadmin. But if I am a sysadmin, I can run this all day long, right? So I can run command shell. I can configure command shell. I can do anything I want. So who has rights to turn on command shell? Does anybody know that? Okay, so level of security SA. Yes, so SA. So not just SA, but sysadmins, right? Not the SA account itself, but sysadmins. So only sysadmins can run it, and only sysadmins can turn it on and off. We'll come back here to this guy, and I'm going to say SP configure command shell, and I can see it set to run. So I'm going to turn it off. I just don't feel like having that thing run anymore. So I'm going to turn that off. And I can't, right? I don't have permission to perform this action. So only a sysadmin can do that. This other window is a sysadmin. So I'm going to set command shell off. I can do that just fine. I'm going to set it on. I can do that just fine. Now I'm going to reconfigure to make sure it's turned on. So only sysadmins can run command shell, and only sysadmins can turn it on and off. Does everybody agree with that so far? I'm going to take that as a yes, because I'm telling you it's yes. So the way to get non-users to use it is to create a proxy. And this proxy account is required. I mean, it's required. You have to have that proxy account. And you also have to have a couple other things in mind or in place as well, right? So I did have this other thing. I wonder if I still have that window open. Yeah, there it is. So, oops, I had it in the other one. So I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to connect to localhost. Nope. As an admin. So now, fine. I'm waiting for it to like let me copy. There we go. It's not letting me. There we go. There, and perfect. And there. So now I've created a proxy. So now with my proxy, I can turn command shell on and off, right? Let's give it a shot. I'm going to turn command shell off because we know it's on. No, I still can't turn it on and off because all it's giving me permission to do is run, right? But it's also limited my permissions because by using a proxy, you automatically have fewer permissions. And so therefore you can't do hardly anything, right? That's why a lot of people say that you have to create a proxy in order to make command shell safe if you're going to use it. So I shouldn't be able to say, add a local user account and give it local admin rights, right? And remember, this is my XP test. So there, it already exists because I didn't reset my data, but I can add it to the local admin group. Right, so it's already a member of that group because I added it last time I taught this last week. But you can see I did add it. So how was I able to add a local admin if the proxy limits my ability to do something? And at the same time, and I'm going to wait for some answers in chat if they come in. And at the same time, I can also add somebody to a domain group. So I can take a user, I can create a user and add it to the domain admins group. How am I able to add that to a domain admin group if I'm using a proxy? Does anybody know?
I wish I could help you out here, Sean, but I'm learning just like the rest of the folks.
Fair enough. That's fine. Let's take a look and see what happened. So if I come in here to sys credentials, which is going to tell me about my proxy, right? I can come in here and I can see, oh, there's my command shell proxy right there. And it creates that account for you. And I'm running it as domain admin. Right? So I've set up a SQL proxy so normal SQL users don't have the rights they should, but I'm running it as domain admin. And by the way, everything I'm showing you here today, I've seen in the wild. So what does what does command shell do? Command shell gives you access to Windows command line. So you can run PowerShell scripts, you can run Perl scripts, you can do anything at the command line you want. You can do it in command shell. And those of you that have seen my maintenance products, you know I do some pretty damn fancy things in command shell. So running this as a domain admin, you have access to the entire shop. Right? I mean, you can do anything you want on any server you want. That sounds like an awful lot of power to me. So what would be a better thing to do instead of using domain admin? Bueller? Let's go ahead and kill this guy. And you do that by running sp xp command shell proxy account and just pass it the word null. And that will delete that proxy. So boom, proxy's gone. There we go, see? No more proxy. Okay, beautiful. So now let's create a proxy that's a little bit better. I'm going to, and let's see, Jen says, some form OD power user. I don't really know what OD is, but yes. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create another proxy with a local account XP user. So this is my local box. It's not a domain account. So I'm going to create that guy. And now when I go in there and look at credentials, you'll see again, it's the same credential name, but we've given it a different identity. So now this local account doesn't have rights to do things that the domain admin does, right? But the problem is, and I guarantee you, I know this is the problem, is that the local account is a local admin. So while I may not be able to do anything to the domain, I can do anything I want to the local box because it's a local admin. But I still can't turn command shell on and off. There we go. Still can't do that, but I can do anything I want on the local box. So that sounds like it still might be a problem. Can you think of a way that I could get around this problem? I'll wait for those to come in. Now, while we're waiting for those answers, I'm going to show you what else needs to happen for the proxy. PS exec. No, not exactly. For one thing, they need access to master because that's where command shell lives. So what I need to be able to do, or what I'm going to do here, is I'm creating a role in master called command shell peeps, because these are my command shell peeps. And I'm going to grant execute to command shell for that role. Then I'm going to create the user in master, XP user. I'm going to give that access to that credential user. And then I'm just going to add them to that command shell peeps role. So all I'm saying now is, you know what? I've got this role called command shell peeps in master, and I'm just going to add this guy to it. And it just makes it easier to keep track of everybody who has command shell access, right? So you don't have to have the role. It just makes it easier. So once you create this proxy, you have to give this proxy account access to master. Where is it? Right here. You have to make it a user in master, and then you have to give it access to command shell, and you're golden. So the way to limit that is to make sure that you use a proxy account that doesn't have admin, right? If you want your users to be able to do something in command shell, say, you know, look at a list of drives or look at a list of files in a drive or something like that, right? Then create that account locally as a local account and only give it rights that you want them to have, right? Don't give them admin, give them only the rights they should have. And then they can only do what they're allowed to do. It doesn't matter if somebody hacks in and gets one of their user accounts and tries to run command shell. The only thing he's going to be able to do is list those files, right? So this is SQL security and Windows security at its finest, at its simplest, but it's also from ground up, right? Because let me ask you something. When I run, and this should be a gimme, even for you, Andy, when I run command shell as under a proxy account, exactly whose permissions are being used in Windows? The proxy account, right? Yes, exactly, Bruce. Those of the proxy, that's what that means, right? So, and if you look at it this way, let's say I have a SQL account, and I'm going to highlight this guy right here, right? SA. So if I've got an SA account, can I log into Windows using my SQL SA account? The answer is a very obvious no, right? So when let's say I'm logged in as a SQL user, I'm logged in as SQL XP or Sean Login 5, that proxy account basically handles, it takes care of that security handoff, right? So SQL says, oh, you're logged in under a SQL user, so you're trying to access Windows, so therefore I've got this account that I'm going to hand off to Windows and say I'm running as this account, right? But even if you're logged in as a Windows user, the same thing is going to happen. It says, oh, you're logged in as a Windows user, but since you're using command shell, I'm going to hand off that access to Windows. I'm going to hand off that account to Windows, and I'm going to give it those, and I'm going to have you run under those privileges, right? So I've already forgotten what account we're using as a proxy right now, but it's really easy to find out. Here in line 20, I'm going to run who am I from command shell, which, you know, just tells you at a command line, you know, what credentials am I using? And you can see that I'm using BindyCon XP user. Great. So now I know what I'm using for that. But let me ask you this. Let's say I'm a sysadmin and I'm logged in as SA, or maybe I'm using my Windows credentials, right? So we'll start there. I'm using my Windows credentials. So I'm logged in as Midnight Sean, and I am a sysadmin on this box. When I go to use command shell, what am I going to find? What am I going to see when I run who am I? Does anybody know? What account does it run under? It's my Windows account, and I'm a sysadmin in SQL, and I'm a local admin on the server. Does anybody know what account I'm going to run under? I'll wait for just a few seconds. It runs under the service account of the SQL engine. Bruce gets the prize. Yes, it does. Even if I'm logged in as my Windows account, Bruce? Yes, if you have sysadmin. Bruce is correct. So that means if I'm logged in as SA or some other SQL account that has sysadmin, then it also uses the SQL service account. So we can see here that there is no such thing. See, because right here we create a proxy account, right? So we can see here that there is no such thing as running command shell without a proxy account. Now we're just arguing over what the proxy account is, right? Because if you're a sysadmin, the proxy account is the SQL service account. If you're a non-sysadmin, it's the proxy account that you've set up in sys credentials. But regardless, you're using a proxy account. There's no way around that. And this is that service security model that Microsoft has set up, right? And they use it everywhere, right? What happens if you want to run R scripts, right? There's a service account that all the R scripts run under, right? It's a separate service account. but all the R scripts run under that account. If you want to run jobs, all the jobs, unless you tell it differently, all the jobs run under the SQL agent account, right? So it's a service security model. The only thing is now command shell is tied to the service account, which is fine. You just have to know that. So now what do we do if we have command shell turned off, because that's what all the audits want you to do. They want you to leave it turned off, and all the security guys who know nothing about SQL want you to leave it turned off. What do we do if somebody gets a hold of our SA password? Are we in trouble? Can they still run command shell? I'm going to wait for Bruce on this one because Bruce seems to know what he's doing. Or he may be asleep. They can enable it. Yes, that's right, Bruce. They can enable it. So what if we've got it turned off and somebody gets hold of a normal user account? Am I in trouble? Can they do something with it? Nope. Jen says nope. Absolutely. So if sysadmins can turn it on or off at will and then use it in any way they want to, and non-users can't turn it on if it's off, and they can only do what the proxy account tells them they can do, then where is the extra security in keeping it turned off and all of these audits forcing you to turn command shell off? Jen says there is none, and she is absolutely right. There is no security hole in leaving command shell turned on. But if you've got command shell turned on and you're using it all the time, which is fine with me, I advocate for that all the time, then how do you minimize your security risk? We've already learned how to do that with the proxy account for users. So how do we minimize that security risk for sysadmins? Anybody know? The same way, remember, they're both proxies, right? So since the proxy for the users is the proxy we created, and the proxy for the sysadmins is the service account, it makes full sense that you do that by limiting the privileges of the service account, right? Every single one of us, every one of us has seen and probably still sees SQL service account, both service account and the agent account, both running under local admin. And not only that, they're domain users. And not only that, a lot of shops use the same domain account for all their SQL services. They have a SQL service account that they use for all their SQL boxes. And if it's local admin on all of the servers, of course you're going to be in trouble if somebody breaks in and gets access to command shell, right? Yeah, you've just given them the keys to the kingdom. But if you have a single domain account for every single box, and it's not local admin, and it only can access the things on there that it needs to run SQL, you're in a lot less trouble, because that account can't access other boxes. And if it can only access them in limited ways. And if it breaks in, and if they break into one box, they're not breaking into every box. So that's not really command shell's fault, is it? That your security sucks, right? That you don't know how to lock down your boxes is not command shell's fault. That's like, the analogy I like to use is that's like going to the hardware store and making 100 copies of your house key and then putting them out there by your mailbox and saying free house keys, and then turning around and saying locks don't work because anybody can get in them. That's just stupid, right? So lock down the service accounts and use separate service accounts for each one. And all of a sudden you're going to find command shell is not a problem at all. And so, you know, command shell's gotten this really bad rap. As far as that goes, everybody's afraid to turn it on and nobody even knows why. Nobody knows anything about it. But what they don't talk about is the other ways that you can screw up SQL, right? That take far fewer privileges than command shell. So let's take a look at this. Directly editing jobs, right? So permissions needed to add a step to an existing job. You need one of these roles. And that's if you don't have the equivalent permissions, right? So how many of us give normal users the SQL agent role or the agent reader role or the agent operator role so they can manage their jobs, right? Well, if one of those accounts gets compromised, that's not an SA account, right? That's not sysadmin, that's just a normal user. But as that guy, you could come in here and you could very easily add a job step to the backup routine that checks to see if an account that I created, and you notice I created this account, MS policy service proxy, and I gave it those little double hashes on either side, right? So it looks really official. Most DBAs would look at that and go, I don't know what that is, but that's clearly one of those Microsoft accounts that we never touch, right? So I'm gonna create that account if it doesn't exist, and I'm gonna give it a nice little wacky password here, and then I'm gonna add it to sysadmin. So every single time the backup routine runs, it's gonna check if this guy's been deleted, and it's gonna re-add it with non-admin privileges. And why is that? Because everybody runs the agent account as a local admin and puts it in sysadmin. So the agent account can do anything it wants. And chances are your backup routine is probably running under the agent account, which means it's running as sysadmin. So it can do anything it wants in SQL, including running command shell, including doing anything in SQL at once, whatever. It can run PowerShell scripts. So if I were to get one of these non-sysadmin accounts, it doesn't take much privileges for me to be able to add a step to this job. However, somebody could discover that and they could look at it and go, hey, what the hell, right? I mean, even though I've named the step ensure backup permissions, which since so few people truly understand security, they're going to look at this ensure backup permission step and go, oh, I'm not touching that because we're using this policy service proxy. And by the way, I say again, this is something I made up, but it certainly looks official, doesn't it? So they're likely to leave that alone. But if they don't, so I'm going to delete this job step if it's there. There we go. Oh, I'm not in MSDB. Ha. I do that. Come on, that's you. There we go. Okay, so, and in fact, I'm going to get out of security and I'm going to go to this guy. I'm going to start my agent real quick. Yes, I already said yes once. Come on, make it happen. There we go. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to go to jobs. I'm going to find this backup DBs, and it's just a job I created just for this guy. So right here. So I'm going to come here, go to steps. It's only got one step. And now I'm going to create this job step. And we'll hit go. There we go. Now when I come back here, I've got my second job step. And it's got my code in it. So yeah, we're good to go, man. Every time that runs. Okay, I need to get back to this. Okay, so I'm going to delete that again. Now, even better, I can do that with fewer privileges as well. So I can add it manually to the table because you know, you've got that nice little SP config setting that you're not allowed to make direct changes to system tables. Funny thing, these guys aren't system tables, they're user tables in the MSDB database. So they're not bound by those rules. So anybody that has write access of any kind to MSDB can simply insert this step. And I'm just going to do that right there. Give it that. Ooh, look at that. One row affected. Now I'm going to set it so that the success actions actually hit that. There we go. And now let's go back here and we'll see that I have my job step again, and that this one is set to go, or this one is set to go after this one. So with simple write privileges to MSDB, I've managed to give myself sysadmin. And in a lot of cases, I've managed to give myself domain admin, the effective domain admin, because now I've got these admin privileges on every single box in my shop. So even better, because the problem is that, you know, somebody could come in here and notice, hey, there's an extra job step here. And they could see that it's that it creates an admin account. And they're like, what the hell is this doing here, right? So we can disguise this a little bit better. Instead of adding it to, instead of adding a step, we can just add this code to a current step. So I'm going to take step 1 in my backup job, and I'm just going to add this code to it. So you see that I've set this equal command equals, or command plus, there's my carriage return line feed, and then my same code again. So I probably didn't reset it from the last time, so this is probably going to be in here twice, but we'll find out. There we are. See, it's in there twice. But now the backup runs, and then it sets, and it's in the exact same one. It's in the exact same step. So it's a lot harder to detect now. Now, what gets really interesting is when you do stuff like this. Jim, we can see your ceiling camera. As we can see stuff like is when you see those report servers, right? And so what happens when you have scheduled reports? You get just dozens upon dozens of jobs with GUIDs as names, right? And how many of us go through all of those jobs with GUIDs as names to make sure that they only have one step in them? Nobody, right? In fact, I can say that I've almost never opened one of those up. So if I add a step to one of those jobs, or if I add the code to the current step of one of those jobs, nobody's ever going to know. Ever gonna know, because nobody looks at that stuff. So clearly command shell is the problem here, right? So start thinking about security in a way that makes security actual secure and not just security theater. Turning off command shell and leaving it turned off is not the issue. That is not a solution to anything. And the audits that do it, just the audits that insist on it, simply don't know what they're doing, period. They don't know what they're doing. Now, I didn't fully flesh this code out, but I could write a command shell because I can't really change sys comments or sys SQL modules, because then I would have to actually set update system tables to 1 and then connect with an admin connection, and that's just not feasible, right? So what you can do is you can create a Powershell that takes, say, the backup routine or some other routine, some other SP that runs code under sysadmin, which most of them do because they're running under the agent account, right? Something that's in a job, and add the code to that. And so at the end of every run, it's going to check to see if that login exists. And if it's not, it's going to create it. And almost nobody will be able to discover that either. So there is more than one way to get around this command shell problem of I need to give myself elevated privileges. It's not hard to do. And most of us have the means to do it right now in the way that our security is set up. So there are two parts of security, right? I'm getting down into the last 5 minutes here. So two parts of security, the easy part and the hard part. The easy part is setting it up, right? I want this guy to have these privileges. And now that you know about the service accounts and all that stuff, you're going to go through and you're going to change it all. I know you, I know every single one of you personally, so I know you're going to do that because you have pride in what you do. But the second part, the hard part, is maintaining it. That's the hard part, because, setting something up is just code, but it's a lot more code to make sure it hasn't changed. And the more DBAs you have on staff, the more people that have elevated privileges, the more mistakes get made, the harder it is to make sure those mistakes don't get made. And what happens with audits all the time is that, somebody makes a mistake with security and it sticks around for 9 months and you don't know about it until the audit, right? Then you fail your audit. So what we do at MinionWare, well, we do lots of things at MinionWare, but one of the big things we do at MinionWare, and we do it better than anybody else, is helping you with that second part. So I'm going to start up another little demo screen here, if I can find it. Security audit demo. And I'm going to make this really fast because I've only got 4 minutes. So getting past all of this, say you've got Windows groups in your environment that, here, let me get in the right database, that have access to SQL, right? Because that's what they tell you to do, right? They tell you to put Windows groups, users in groups, and then groups inside of SQL, right? So now I've got this Windows group inside of SQL, and I have no idea who has access to that group. So one of the things we do best at MinionWare is we can give you a flat list of users. So we go out to AD and we gather all that information, and we give you all of that right now, right? So here I've got that whole list of users, and this is the list of users on every single server. See, I've got my different servers here. I got the SQL account name. Now you notice here, this is a group, Minion Budget SQL. You can see it's a Windows group. And this account name here is a subgroup. And all of these are subgroups. And I still get all of the users. So I get a flat list of users of everybody in ID, even if they're buried 40 levels deep in a Windows group. I get a flat list of users for every single sysadmin in my environment. And by default, if anybody gets added to any of those groups and ends up with sysadmin, even if they're buried 40 levels deep in an AD group, you'll get an email that says this guy's been given these groups or been given these permissions to these servers. And if somebody gets removed, you'll get an email saying that they've been removed. And so this list consists of SQL admins, because you can see SA right there, right? So it consists of SQL admins, Windows users, and Windows groups. And since we get all of this AD and SQL info together, then you could also say stuff like, show me all of the Windows users who have access to SQL who haven't logged into Windows in, say, 6 months, right? Show me all of the Windows users who are disabled. Show me all of the Windows users who haven't changed their accounts, who haven't changed their account passwords in the last 6 months, stuff like that. So, and at the same time, and I'm cutting this extremely short, right? I can chase somebody through the system. So as well, I can follow somebody's access through the system, and I can see that eGant has access to all of these servers, but I also give you all of the AD group chains as well. So he's getting into SQL through that Budget SQL account, and he's a direct member of Budget SQL, but he's also getting into that group through finance, IT, corporate, HR, and sales and marketing. So I can see his exact AD group chains that he uses to get into SQL. And here's another one with a longer group chain. And one more thing real quick, database permissions. And of course, you can see how much I'm skipping. but I can give you the database permissions of every single user and every single database on every single server. There we go. All the way down to object level, column level permissions. See, column level permissions. I've got certificate permissions here and everything. So I can give you every single database permission somebody has, and we can report when those permissions change, all from a single location. You don't have to store, you don't have to put anything out on your servers, and you don't have to go around to each server. You get every single permission change you can get from one single query and one single alert. I don't have any slides.
I sent it to you.
She sent me a slide.
Doesn't matter. Just tell me to MinionWare for demo.
Okay, and if you want a full demo of this, I'm still looking for the slide she supposedly just sent me. Ah, that's not right. I have no idea what that is. Did you say it was an email? Yeah, I don't have email open when I'm doing a demo. Put it in Discord real quick. So go to minionware.net while she's sending me that, and schedule a demo with us, because I can show you the full demo. You got like the thinnest sliver of what we can do here in the last 5 minutes. And I'd be glad to show you the full product and everything that we can do for security, but that's the high level view. And as well, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot one more thing. Since we back up all of your objects every night, including your jobs and job steps, we can monitor those for changes as well and let you know if any of those have changed, and you can go through there and you can make sure that nobody's adding code like this to any of your jobs, or that make sure that nobody's adding job steps to any jobs. So if you got 1,000 servers, you can monitor every job on every server as easily as you can monitor one job on one server. And I'm going to go ahead and stop there and see if there are any questions or comments, and I'm going to open it up to everybody. I'm officially calling this presentation done.